Hi friends, it's Jasmine, your Vancouver, Washington Realtor extraordinaire. I help people buy and sell homes all over Southwest Washington and the Portland Metro. And if you're thinking about making a move, reach out. Call me, text me, email me, whatever works best. I work with buyers and sellers every single week, and I'd love to help you navigate this market with clarity and confidence. Now, if you've been wondering how our weather, all this rain, cloud cover, snow in winter, and those short but sunny summers actually affect the housing market here, this video is for you. Because the truth is, weather does shape real estate in real ways. It impacts pricing, inspection outcomes, buyer behavior, and even the best time to list your home. And in a place like Vancouver, where rain is a season, not a sprinkle, this matters. So today, I'm walking you through what buyers and sellers really need to know, whether you're relocating, upsizing, or just trying to figure out if you should wait until spring to make a move. We'll talk about how seasonal weather affects home values and demand, what features buyers are prioritizing now more than ever, how flood zones and insurance are coming into play, and what to keep in mind if you're prepping to buy or sell in the next few months. By the end of this video, you'll have a much better sense of how the weather here in Clark County interacts with the housing market and how to use that knowledge to your advantage. And if you're planning to buy, sell, or relocate soon, don't wait. Call me. I'd love to help you plan your next move with strategy and confidence. Let's chat. Now, if you're not from around here, or if you've only visited Vancouver in the summer, you might be surprised by how much our weather really shapes daily life. And yes, the real estate market. Vancouver gets about 42 inches of rain per year, which is significantly higher than the US average. But it's not like a Florida thunderstorm or a Texas downpour. Our rain tends to be slow, steady, and persistent. That classic Pacific Northwest drizzle that soaks in over time. And it's not just about rain, it's also the cloud cover, the chill in the air, and the long stretch of darker days. The wet season usually starts in late October and can carry all the way through early May. November through January are typically the rainiest, and that's also when we'll see occasional snow or ice, especially in higher elevations like Philida, Ridgefield, or parts of Camas. Now that might sound gloomy if you're coming from somewhere warm and sunny, but it's also what makes this part of the country so green and beautiful. Lush forests, gorgeous parks, tree-lined neighborhoods, it's part of the charm of Southwest Washington. And then, almost like clockwork, late spring arrives and everything shifts. The skies open up, the trees fill in, and Vancouver transforms. Our summers are warm, dry, and absolutely beautiful. Temperatures sit comfortably in the high 70s and 80s with far less humidity than the Midwest or South. That's usually when we see the housing market kick into high gear, more listings, more showings, more activity across the board. But here's the thing, even though summer feels like the best time to buy or sell, the rainier seasons actually reveal a lot of things you can't see when it's sunny. Drainage problems, leaky basements, poor insulation. Homes behave differently in the winter, and if you're paying attention, you can use that to your advantage. And that's exactly what we'll talk about next, how the weather impacts home design, maintenance, and what features are becoming non-negotiable for today's buyers. One of the biggest ways our weather affects the real estate market here in Vancouver is how homes are built, maintained, and perceived by buyers. When you live in a place that's wet for nearly half the year, certain features go from nice to have to absolutely essential. Let's start with the roof. Roof condition is one of the first things buyers ask about, and it makes sense. Between heavy rain, falling leaves, and occasional snow or ice, your roof is your first line of defense. A home with a newer roof, even if it's not fancy, often sells faster and for more, simply because buyers feel more secure. On the flip side, a roof that's mossy, curling, or visibly aged can raise red flags and delay a sale. Then there's drainage and grading. Water needs to move away from the home. If it's pooling near the foundation, backing up at the downspouts, or causing soggy patches in the yard, buyers will notice, and inspectors will definitely call it out. That's why features like French drains, extended downspouts, sealed crawl spaces, and even landscaping designed to manage runoff can be a big selling point. Another issue we see in this climate is mold and mildew, especially in older homes or those with poor ventilation. Crawl spaces, basements, and attics are particularly vulnerable. And while these things are often fixable, the perception of moisture problems can really spook a buyer, especially if they're relocating from a drier state and aren't used to seeing things like dehumidifiers or vapor barriers. Windows and insulation also matter more here. Double or triple pane windows, upgraded weather stripping, attic insulation, all of these things contribute to a home's energy efficiency and comfort in both the colder and warmer months. With utility costs rising and climate patterns shifting, buyers are becoming much more focused on year-round comfort. And finally, there's maintenance. In this part of the country, regular upkeep is key. If a seller has clearly taken care of their home, cleaned the gutters, sealed the siding, installed a sump pump, upgraded the HVAC, that creates trust. It sends the message that the home's been protected from the elements, and that goes a long way during negotiations. In fact, I've had listings where something as simple as a clean crawl space report or a new vapor barrier made all the difference in getting a strong offer quickly. On the flip side, I've also walked buyers through homes that looked great on the surface, but then we stepped into the garage and noticed a water line along the back wall, or musty smells in the laundry room, or soft spots in the hardwood flooring near exterior doors. All things that tie directly back to how the home has handled moisture over the years. So whether you're buying or selling, these weather-related features are not just cosmetic, they're structural, they're financial, and they're emotional. They can affect how buyers feel when they walk through the door and whether they'll feel confident making an offer. And that leads us perfectly into the next section, because even beyond the home itself, the time of year you buy or sell in Vancouver can make a big difference in your experience. Let's talk about seasonality, market cycles, and how our location climate shapes the rhythm of real estate here. Now let's talk timing, because one of the questions I get asked most often is, what's the best time to buy or sell a home in Vancouver? And honestly, it really depends. But one thing's for sure, our weather patterns and our real estate market cycles are closely connected. They move together, and understanding that rhythm can give you a real strategic advantage. From mid-March through July, things really pick up. The sun starts to come out, flowers are blooming, yards green up, and suddenly everything looks beautiful. Curb appeal hits its peak, and homes just show better, especially for relocation buyers who are seeing Vancouver for the first time. During these spring and early summer months, we see the highest number of listings hit the market. In fact, in June 2025, Clark County saw over 900 new listings, up nearly 9% from the previous year. It's a busy, active time, and if your home is bright, updated, and well presented, this is when you can often get the best exposure. But with that exposure comes competition. If you're selling, you're likely not the only one, and that means buyers have way more options. It also means you'll need to price strategically, highlight your home's strengths, and possibly prepare for some negotiation if buyers are weighing multiple homes. And if you're a buyer, this season can feel exciting but overwhelming. You'll have more inventory to choose from, but you may also find yourself competing against other buyers, especially on homes that are priced well or located in sought-after school districts. Now, fast forward to late fall and winter, and the pace slows down. Listings drop, open houses quiet down, and a lot of people assume it's not a good time to make a move. But here's what I've seen over and over again. The winter market may be smaller, but it's full of serious buyers. Buyers who are shopping in December, January, even early February, they usually need to buy. Maybe they're relocating, starting a new job, or didn't find the right home during the summer rush. They're motivated, and that makes a huge difference. Plus, winter gives you a much more honest view of a home. When it's rainy, gray, and cold, you can usually see how a house performs under pressure. Are there puddles in the backyard? Are the windows foggy from condensation? Does the crawl space feel damp or smell musty? These are things that can be hard to detect when the weather is perfect. I've had clients who only shop in the rainy months for this exact reason. They want to see the home's true condition, not just its springtime glow up. So if you're buying or selling, understanding seasonality in Vancouver matters. In the spring and summer, you get more action, more energy, and more curb appeal. In the fall and winter, you get more transparency, less competition, and often a little more negotiating room. There's no bad season to make a move here, but there is a smart way to time it based on your goals, your property, and the current market conditions. And that's exactly the kind of strategy I help clients build every week. One of the most important and often overlooked aspects of buying or selling a home in Vancouver is understanding flood risk and long-term climate exposure. And I'm not just talking about beachfront properties or homes on the Columbia River. Even neighborhoods that seem far from water can be in designated flood zones, and that can have a big impact on everything from insurance costs to resale value. In fact, roughly 10% of all properties in Vancouver are considered at risk of flooding over the next 30 years. Some sources place that number even higher, depending on how risk is defined. And homes that fall within FEMA's special flood hazard areas, often referred to as 100-year flood zones, will almost always require flood insurance if the buyer is using a mortgage. That's an extra monthly cost, and it can influence which homes buyers are willing to consider. I always recommend checking the Clark County flood insurance rate maps early in the process, especially if a property is near a creek, stream, or sits in a low-lying area. You'd be surprised how many neighborhoods have pockets of flood exposure, even if the rest of the subdivision is clear. And it's not just the maps. I also encourage buyers to ask their inspectors about drainage, grading, and water flow around the home. A place can look fine during the dry season, but after a few days of steady rain, issues can surface fast. And this isn't just about the present, it's also about the future. According to data from Climate Check and First Street Foundation, Vancouver is expected to see more intense rainfall events over the next coming decades. In other words, a higher percentage of our annual rain will fall in shorter, heavier bursts. That means more strain on storm drains, more standing water, and greater risk of localized flooding, especially in older neighborhoods without modern infrastructure. We're also seeing a shift in temperature extremes. Historically, Vancouver averages about 7 days per year with temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. But by 2050, projections show that number rising to 26 hot days per year. That has ripple effects too, on home energy usage, air conditioning needs, and even building materials. Buyers are starting to ask more questions about insulation, window ratings, and whether a home can stay cool in extreme heat. The truth is, these climate-related factors are becoming more visible in real estate conversations. Lenders are looking at climate risk, insurance companies are adjusting their models, and buyers, especially those relocating from California or the South, are walking into showings with flood and fire maps already pulled up on their phones. So if you're buying, selling, or investing, it's important to understand how climate and flood risks are evolving here in Clark County, and how they can affect property values over time. It's not about fear, it's about being informed. And when you know what to look for, you can make smarter, more confident decisions. So now that we've covered how the weather impacts everything from home design to flood zones, let's talk strategy, whether you're buying, selling, or both. For buyers, shopping in Vancouver means you need to be observant and intentional. If you're touring homes in the rainy months, that's actually a huge advantage, because this is when homes show their true colors. You'll be able to see whether the gutters are overflowing, whether water is pooling in the yard, whether there's any moisture in the crawl space or the baseboards. These are the kind of things that are easy to miss in spring and summer, but they matter, not just for peace of mind, but for the long-term health of the home. I always recommend working with an inspector who knows our climate and who's not afraid to crawl right into tight corners and really look for signs of water intrusion, mildew, or poor ventilation. Ask about the age of the roof, the presence of a vapor barrier, whether the siding has been sealed or painted recently, and how well the home is insulated. And if you're considering a property in a flood zone, make sure you understand how that will affect your monthly payment and insurance. Now, if you're a seller, your job is to anticipate those concerns before they show up in a report. If you've lived in your home for a while, take an honest look at how it performs in bad weather. Are there areas where you've seen water seep in? Have you maintained the gutters, downspouts, and drainage systems? Does the crawl space stay dry? Fixing those things up front, or at least disclosing them with transparency, can build a lot of trust with buyers, especially those relocating from out of state. And if your home has been updated for weather resilience, shout it from the rooftops. Mention the newer roof, mention the sealed crawl space, mention the sump pump, the French drain, the energy efficient windows, the added attic insulation. These are not just features, they're selling points, especially in the winter when buyers are worried about unexpected maintenance or long repair timelines. The truth is, whether you're buying or selling, the weather gives you an opportunity to be strategic. If you're a buyer, You can use the rainy season to spot flaws others might miss, or negotiate more confidently. And if you're a seller, you can prep your home so it stands out as weather ready, which is a huge emotional win for buyers trying to picture themselves living here year round. In this market, it's not just about timing, it's about preparation. And when you combine the right strategy with the right local knowledge, you put yourself in the best possible position, no matter the season. So yes, the weather here in Vancouver, Washington absolutely affects the real estate market. From how homes are priced and presented, to when people decide to list, to what buyers look for during showings, our climate plays a much bigger role than people realize. But that's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. And when you understand how seasonality, rainfall, flood zones, and even long-term climate shifts affect the local housing landscape, you can make smarter decisions that actually work in your favor. Whether you're buying, selling, or relocating here from out of state, the key is to plan around how homes perform in this environment, not just how they look on a sunny day. It's about strategy. It's about knowing what to watch for. And it's about having the right local guidance along the way. And that's where I come in. I help clients every single week navigate the Vancouver and Clark County market with clarity and confidence, no matter what the weather is doing. I'll even walk you through the entire process, explain how timing and property condition intersect, and make sure you feel supported every step of the way. So if you're planning to buy, sell, or relocate, don't wait. Call me, text me, email me, whatever is easiest. You can also fill out my buyer questionnaire, which is linked right down below in the description. What's one weather-related thing you'd want your future home to be prepared for? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!